Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Michael Bartlett, Master Metaphysical Astrologer. Thank you for joining and listening to my March 2024 astrological forecast. Please know that you may need to adjust for dates and times based on what I say, depending on where your place is on the earth. And as many of you know from having watched my shows in the past, I will be talking about things from a fourth harmonic standpoint, meaning that these are planets that are in relationship by conjunction, square, or opposition. Usually the types of aspects between the planets that create friction and cause a sort of a reaction from people. I would like to thank Christine Cianci for the beautiful artwork she did for making Astro Theater figures, hand painting all of them. You can visit her and her artwork at ccianciart.com. Also, if you like what I'm being offering here for the forecast for each month, please hit the like button. Please share with your friends. And also, please comment. I really appreciate those of you who leave comments and ask questions. I really love interacting with you when you feel the need to ask. And also, if there are other things that you'd like to see me cover during the monthly forecast, I'd appreciate hearing that about it. And also subscribe, of course. Thank you. So the key themes for March, of course, this month, we are going to be having a lunar eclipse towards the end of the month. We have the spring equinox. The gang, meaning many of the planets, are going to be moving out of the sign of Aquarius into Pisces and then on into Aries. Venus, Mars, and the Sun all change signs. And we continue with the theme as we did last month of no retrograde planets. So, really, still a great time to go move forward with your plans and what it is that you want to do on the planet. So on the 3rd of March, we start with a third quarter square between Venus and Uranus. They were originally conjunct one another on the 9th of May in 2023. So it's really good to think about what was coming around in your life around the 9th of May back in 2023, because this will be third quarter square, as you know, I like to call it the crisis in consciousness or the we didn't know sort of function. And with Uranus, this is especially relevant. So this is from the sign of Taurus to the sign of Aquarius, or from the sign of Aquarius actually to the sign of Taurus, because Venus is the faster moving planet. So can be upsets in relationships. This can be upsets in our values and the ways we see things. It can be changing in our ideology. We might be looking at the way things are being handled in relationships or out in the world and go, yeah, you know what, I no longer agree with this sort of a situation. But you'll find that it's something that has its root back there in May 9th of 2023. On the 8th of March, we have a conjunction between Mercury and Neptune in the sign of Pisces. We already have the Sun and Saturn there. This is considered a stellium when there are three, and typically actually more traditionally four planets or more in one sign. It's quite a strong focus of energy in this very liminal spiritual space. I like to think, especially when I see Mercury in Pisces, I often find that people are able to hear voices, meaning that they're able to receive messages from other places and spaces in time and space that we don't necessarily consider to be scientific or linear thinking. So it could also be speaking to relatives who have passed on or friends who have passed on, speaking with animals. With Neptune right there, this really gives a very subtle sense. This would be a great day for doing meditation. With the Sun, Mercury, Saturn, and Neptune there, it's just going to be a very flowy day. Don't expect that things are going to be very highly defined in any way, shape, or form. This is really sort of a process of finding out things and seeing how we feel about things as opposed to rushing in and making things happen. On the 9th of March, we have another third quarter square that is going to be happening this time between Uranus and Mars. Of course, between the 3rd and the 6th of March, that Uranus is in range with Mars and Venus. So we can see that they're both going to be very highly activated during this time. Mars, on the other hand, is going to be a little bit more directive. Mars may find out, hey, if you just found out that you had an affair, maybe Mars is going to be really upset and is going to go and really and really kind of storm through things. But it's Mars in Aquarius. So Mars in Aquarius is going to be more like thinking of a plan and trying to figure out what the reality is. And also, what's with Venus and Mercury, I think in Aquarius, it's really like, okay, well, what is the highest good that we can attain here? If we're not happy with our relationship, be it personal relationship, our marriage, our significant other, our work relationship, our relationship at different organizations, because we're talking about Taurus and Aquarius here. It's just a really good time to reevaluate, paying attention to the things that maybe you haven't been thinking of. One thing that I like to consider in relationships is many of us often have what are called unspoken agreements. Like at work, it might be, hey, I'll leave early and you can come in late, but we won't tell the boss. But none of this is really spoken for. It's just kind of like a tit for tat that happens in relationship. That's really happens a lot with different ways of taking care of one's needs versus taking care of the realities in the relationship. So this time when things come forward and show us that there's a new that there's something we didn't know, it gives us an opportunity to make choices and make change. With these both being fixed signs, it's not as easy as usual, but Uranus really impels us to make the change while we still can. Aquarius is going to be very detached from it and be able to make a decision that's the right way to do things. And I think from that place, we can see some good opportunities to be making some choices. Also, I just have to say this, Mars and Uranus together also are a significator of accidents happening. So this could also be something where an accident has to happen to create the change that is needed. That's why some of us get sick sometimes. That's why some of us get in car accidents or other accidents happen in our lives, because we're doing things that aren't really for our highest good. And there's really no way else for spirit or whatever you want to call it, the cosmic force, divine forces, have to kind of motivate us to do things a little bit differently. And accidents can help change that for us. On the 9th of March, we have Mercury leaving the sign of Pisces, its creativity, the nuances and meditational ability, and moves into action oriented and directive Aries, where Chiron is also hanging out. So this is a pretty powerful change. It's going to be able to make things move forward a little bit more. Whatever kind of thoughts you were feeling beginning of the month through the 9th of March, now is like a little bit more of a time for you to put these things into action. On the 11th of March, we have Venus moving from the sign of Aquarius into Pisces, making us have a nice stellium again in the sign of Pisces with Venus, Saturn, Sun, and Neptune. We can see this still provides for a little bit more of a softening. So, yeah, maybe something was found out about the relationship, or maybe we've decided that something isn't right and we need to make some changes. Pisces is going to come along and say, okay, how do we smooth out the edges? How do we make this work in a way for us to feel good in ourselves on all levels possible? On the 17th of March, that sun moves into a conjunction with Neptune. Oops. This really pulls in for a large, kind of embodying that spiritualized selves that we have. So again, this could be a very spiritualized time for us to look at things, consider what our plans are. Maybe if you're a creative person, doing some creative expressions, going to the movies with friends, hanging out at home, just taking it easy, would probably be really well suited as well in this energy. On the 19th of March, oops, looks like it did a double here, so I'll just redo it. Oh, that's weird, it did that. The 19th of March, we have the sun moving into the sign of Aries, which is the spring equinox. So this is that annual time when we get the reset. This is the beginning of the new astrological calendar, and we get to see the beginning. The light continues to grow towards the summer solstice. On the 20th of March, we have a conjunction between Chiron and Mercury in the sign of Aries. Of course, we know Sun is here as well. Sorry for not having him in there. So this is really a good time to speak to any issues that have to do with our sense of being. Chiron in Aries. Aries is the sign that has to do with the right to be. When we think about it being the first sign, that first sign of consciousness coming from the non-physical into physical form. When we're born, it takes a little while to make sure that we're going to be safe. I mean, us humans kind of stick around with our parents for 18 years. We're the mammals who stay the longest with our parents out of any mammal on the planet. So that idea of differentiation is a little bit scary and frightening. So this can really speak to whatever we need as far as our issues of feeling comfortable in space, in time, whether it has to do with the expressions of ourselves, how we communicate, how we move, If there are any issues that have to do with any kind of wounding or these issues that we've been dealing with for much of our life that we have not resolved yet, this is a really good time to talk about it and bring it to the forefront. On the 21st of March, we have a conjunction between Saturn and Venus. This gives, yeah, it's interesting because Saturn wants to create boundaries, create structures, wants to have things very form and set. And in the sign of Pisces, Saturn doesn't really get to do that. Venus wants to really decide and feel into things in this place with Pisces. And so with Saturn and Pisces here together, this could be setting up rules, but maybe the rules aren't necessarily so structured and so harsh and so clearly delineated. Maybe this is a room of, hey, it continues on from the issue of when Venus was visiting with in a three-quarter relationship to Uranus and seeing like, oh, what kind of a shock or changes happened up. And now that Saturn's in there, it's like, okay, it's like having your grandfather come along and say, okay, what are the things that we need to do to make things right here? Bringing in some maturity, bringing in a larger perspective that allows for understanding how to love in a way that is a little safer, a little neater, a little cleaner. But then again, it's still in Pisces. So there's a little wiggle room here. On the 22nd of March, Mars is leaving the sign of Aquarius, leaving poor Pluto to be by himself after everyone was hanging out with him for so long. And now he has moved into the sign of Pisces to enjoy hanging out with his divine complement Venus, his father Mars, and his brother Neptune. Mars, again, Mars and Saturn, these are not their favorite signs. Mars and Saturn don't really care for being in the sign of Pisces. It's again, it's nebulous. The lines aren't very clear. It's foggy. There's water involved. One can't really make a straight, clear line to get things done. So there's a different approach about doing things. So with Mars here in Pisces, it's going to be softer. It's going to be more feeling. It's going to be more poetic, so to speak, right? It's not going to be running full force as he will when he gets back into Aries. And it's also not going to be as aloof and detached as he was in Aquarius. He's going to be a little bit more feeling into things. Really, again, a great time for creating artwork, going on a little bit of a spiritual pilgrimage if you want. Going on a hike could be really beautiful, depending on where you are in the planet, depending on what the weather's like, and just being present to what is. That's the gift of Pisces. And finally, on the 25th of March, we have the lunar eclipse at 5 degrees 7 minutes Aries for the sun and 5 degrees 7 minutes Libra for the moon. These align with our lunar nodes, with the Aries Libra opposition. Excuse me so much. And so this is really about finding, the lunar eclipse is about kind of bringing to light the emotional nuances that we maybe haven't been taking care of. So it carries on a little bit more of that theme of the third quarter square between Venus, Mars, and Uranus and Taurus from Aquarius, asking us to kind of take a look at things, really see what the truth is of things. How do we feel about things? Libra is air, is a cardinal air sign. And therefore, this moon is not an emotionally huggy, clingy sort of a moon. It's a very observational moon that sees two sides to everything, right? It sees the black and the white. We can see the scale there, the yin yang. Her outfit is the black and white. Things aren't as definitive and clear as they are with the Mars. With the sun in Aries. That Aries energy is way more definitive and very decisive. Whereas Libra's going to go like, well, we maybe might have another decision here we can make. So again, this is also the primary relationship axis of Aries to Libra. And so we have to really consider again this time of looking at what our relationships to things are. What is allowing us our freedom? What is taking away our freedom? What are the things we want to compromise in order to be in relationship with other people? And where that we are making all the compromise and the other side isn't, or where we're not making any compromise and the other side is. This is really good to see kind of really reviewing all the different types of relationships we have in our life with our family members, with our friends, with work associates, with colleagues and groups and associations that we work with. All these sorts of relationships to other are really going to be up and really highly focused for this month. I'm available at my website, coremichael.com. I invite you to visit there. I just did a recent talk for Kepler College on the angles, which came out really great. You can look it up on their YouTube channel. I also probably ought to put a link up on my events page. And I'll be speaking in Tucson on the 8th and 9th of March on my book, Astrological Mavericks. For those of you who are in Tucson, hope you can make it. Thank you again so much for joining me today. Share with your friends, like, hit the subscribe button, leave comments. Thank you, and many blessings to you and yours for the month of March. Take care. Bye-bye.